Good evening, everyone. This is the October 28, 2020 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. My name is Michael Garland. I'm chairman of the commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tom Fallon.
Present.
Michelle Colross.
Here.
Patrick Cunningham.
Here. Allison Holmes.
Here.
Jason Rand. Antonius Romney.
Yes, here, but you are breaking.
Okay, noted. There are also town officials and employees that are participating. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Building Commissioner Caleb Moody. CDIS Director Darlene Coyle. Land Use Clerk Ginger Butow. Ginger's with us remotely. Okay, so good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission is now called to order at approximately 7:02 p.m. This meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current and ongoing state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public hearings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting on the town's website, which is auburnguide.com, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by remote participation for the public only, although some staff are physically located in the Selectmen's meeting room in Town Hall. These town employees are practicing social distancing in accordance with the governor's orders. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, call 1-408-650-3123 and enter access code 942-845-549. Or the public can join via computer at gotomeeting.com/join/942-845-549. The remote access information has been posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. And also please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. So accordingly, those members of the commission, employees and members of the public who participate, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. With regard to meeting materials, all supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. So we are surely going to be turning to the first item on tonight's agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. So I, as chair of the commission, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Also, please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I, as chair, yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in discussion with other members, please do so through me as chair, taking care to identify yourself. So after members of the commission have spoken, I, as chair, will afford public comment as follows. I will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify themselves by names and addresses only. And once I have a list of any and all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. May technical difficulties arise, I will suspend the meeting while attempts to resolve are being made. All right. Having said that, the first item on tonight's agenda is a 7 p.m. public hearing. Eastland Partners Incorporated for a notice of intent to construct a pad-ready commercial site at 190 Washington Street here in Auburn. Is there a motion to open?
So moved, Tom.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's a vote. Okay. Anyone that's participating in this meeting, please mute your microphone. We're getting some feedback. Thank you. All right. Mr. O'Connell, are you present, sir?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. So
Good evening to you.
just for members of the commission that were unable to participate on Saturday, several of us went to 190 Washington Street and walked the site with Mr. O'Connell and other members of the team at Eastland Partners. And we walked the area which is being basically delineated or designed for the pad-ready commercial site at the property of 190 Washington Street. Based on my observations, the wetland was delineated in accordance with the plan that had been submitted previously by Eastland Partners. And based on that, I was satisfied that what had been set forth in the plan was in fact present at the site. Tom, any comments? Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask if any members of the commission have any comment with respect to 190 Washington Street. If you do, please identify yourself and advise if you wish to speak.
This is Allison Holmes.
Hi, Allison.
Just wondering if we can discuss the impact areas and replications and any of that sort of stuff I might have missed.
Okay, please. And in other words, you'd like Mr. O'Connell to explain what they're going to do to replicate filled-in wetlands?
Yeah, and
Okay.
if, yeah.
Okay, Mr. O'Connell, can you elaborate on what you're doing to replicate wetlands that are going to be disturbed or filled in to facilitate your project?
Yep, I'm happy to do so. Thank you. So we're crossing two resource areas. The first resource area is an intermittent stream with no BVW, so it's just bank. And that crossing will consist of a legitimate bridge. It'll have abutments, and then the bridge will be a steel structured bridge that'll completely span the resource area, and there'll be no alteration to the bank, which is that first resource area, which is kind of like that rectangular dark area on the plan on the screen. And then then we immediately enter an upland area, kind of a large island of upland, before we have a second resource area crossing. And this second area is exclusively BVW, which by regulation requires wetland replication. So it's approximately 3,150 feet of BVW fill proposed as part of the work, and a replication area of almost 4,000 square feet immediately adjacent to the fill area in this upland island that I refer to between the two resource areas. The replication area meets replication protocols with regards to performance standards from an area and a plant species and construction and monitoring requirements. Pretty standard in crossing and replication. All efforts were made to minimize the crossing. For example, we crossed at the narrowest point. We did not have excessive work proposed that would increase the crossing or or alteration unnecessarily. We make every effort to immediately get out of these sensitive areas, and the replication area will require oversight by a wetland scientist and a certification upon its completeness. Is there anything else that I can provide information on?
No, I mean, it's just a little concerning with the wetlands being on both sides of you, and the fill that you're gonna have to bring in to bring that road up right in the buffer zone. So, it's a lot of work really close to all these sensitive areas. And I apologize that I didn't get to see it myself, but it does concern me a little bit. But, you're definitely doing ample amount of replication, so that's good. But, I'm definitely concerned with the kind of BMPs and the way that the construction of all of that is going to be handled right in the buffer zone.
Okay.
Mr. O'Connell, do you want to elaborate on your best management practices when doing the work?
Well, what I can say, for Eastland is that, they're a full service development company. So they, unlike other development companies where, you've got a couple of guys in suits who do developers, and they say they're developers and they have to hire subcontractors to do the work, and they don't have a lot of oversight. That's not the case with this applicant. This applicant does everything in-house. It's their equipment, it's their operators, it's their laborers. It's their field personnel that are overseeing the work. Their attention to detail is second to none in my experience. They take, they're very, they take a lot of precautions, and they're proactive instead of reactive, which I'm sure, as conservation commissioners, you see quite a bit. You're forced to respond to violations, but a lot of care and thought goes into the way they kind of go about their business. They use really good techniques with shredded bark mulch on steep slopes. As work is developing prior to stabilization, erosion controls are installed properly, and they're inspected regularly. This site will be subject to a NPDES notice of intent, and therefore a SWIP, which is a stormwater pollution prevention plan, will have to be provided and monitored and updated. I really just can't say enough about that aspect of this project that I'm confident that you'll be impressed with.
Is the triangle thing a detention basin of some kind?
Yep, there are several stormwater areas, and as I indicated let me just stop you right there. That plan shows the two crossings and the replication area. There are several stormwater areas that have been identified, and they're oversized. They're conservative. They assume that these commercial pad sites will be 90, that the areas that are identified as future building pad sites, we assume in these calculations that 90% of just that building pad site will be impervious. Because we don't know exactly what, future commercial operation or business will be there, it's hard to design something specifically. So it's a little conservative. So, in a world sometimes where we're trying to fit, 6 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag, it's not really the case here. We're really trying a little bit conservative with the amount of runoff that's going to be generated. This, as I indicated to the members during the site walk, it's certainly foreseeable to think that this could be an industrial or commercial subdivision someday. So we had, some of those thoughts in mind, and that, the stormwater system was designed to handle the runoff if this haul road were to become a subdivision road. the crossings and the bridge was designed with that in mind. Just really in a kind of full transparency approach. If we came back to you in 6 months with asking for more, and you accused us of, we don't want to be accused of, of not being transparent and upfront, at that time. So, with commercial development, it's tough to predict what will go here, but we're using our best guess, trying to be responsible and upfront about it, and trying to provide everything we think would be necessary. So hope that helps.
It does, thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? There being none, is there any public comment? And if so, would you please identify yourself by your name and your address? All right. With apparently no public comment with respect to 190 Washington Street, is there a motion to close?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
All right. And that's Tom. Is there a second?
I make a second. This is Tony.
All right. I'm going to give that one to
The meeting.
All right. I'm going to give that to Tony. I think Tony was first. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, all those in favor of closing the public hearing for 190 Washington Street signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's a vote. Mr. O'Connell, thank you, sir. We anticipate that we will be preparing our order of conditions this evening, so you will hear from us probably within the next week or so.
Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a pleasant evening.
Same to you.
All right. The next item on our agenda is a 7:15 public hearing. Town of Auburn for a request for determination of applicability to conduct routine maintenance at 35 Mill Street. Is there a motion open?
So moved. Tom?
Is there a second?
I second, Pat.
Oh, thank you, Pat. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right. On behalf of the town of Auburn is Bill Coyle. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Conservation Commission. So this project is 35 Mill Street. More specifically, it's the Ponzo Pond Dam. It's just downstream from the dam. As you may be aware, the town of Auburn DPW is responsible for overseeing the maintenance and inspection of all town-owned dams. And this particular dam was inspected on a 5-year cycle, and the most recent inspection noted the presence of the trees. Any trees within 20 feet of the dam need to be removed. And quite frankly, the downstream area of the spillway, we're looking to remove the trees. I don't know if you can see the photo on your computer, but the photo that I took that I thought represented the area we wanted to clear really well. If we were there about, I want to say 5 years ago, previously to clear the same area, and unfortunately, it's probably going to be a regular occurrence to clear these trees. They're basically scrub trees, mostly 1 to 2 inches in caliber. There may be a handful that are 3 inches or 4 inches, but the vast majority.
Possibly 5 years ago, and so the work would occur during dry weather. We wouldn't do the work currently with water flowing over the dam. I would anticipate it would probably, unless we go back into a drought situation and there's no water going over the dam, it's quite possible that we may be waiting till summertime to do the work. the work would be done by hand in terms of, no, we're not going to go in there with equipment. We'll have a private company go in and cut the trees and at ground level. We won't be stumping any of them. Just going to be cutting them at ground level and removing them and then shipping them in off-site into a truck and removed off-site. So again, it's more or less between the dam and Mill Street itself. Just beyond the other side of this, it opens up again. It's somewhat of an island almost. It's not an upland, but it's an island area where there's enough soil there that allows for the trees to grow. So it's something again that we'll probably be doing every 5-6 years or so. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
How long would it take for you to do the work?
I think this would be done in one day. Yeah, it would be probably in a few hours. They'll be done.
Small chainsaws?
Yeah, just chainsaws, and it'll be a private company. I would imagine within a few hours they'll have it all removed.
Okay. Are there any questions from members of the board? There being none, is there any public comment? And if so, again, please state your name and your address. We have a very quiet crowd this evening. There being no other comment, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing. Tom?
Is there a second? Thank you, Pat. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it's a vote. All right, thank you, Mr. Coyle.
Thank you.
We have a few minutes before our next public hearing at 7:30. I don't know if members of the commission have had a chance
to look at the meeting minutes for July 8th. I had an opportunity to actually review them. I offered comments to Ms. Butow, and she was able to revise them and send out revisions this afternoon. Does anyone else have any revisions to the meeting minutes for July 8th of 2020? Coyle? All right. Oh, thank you. Okay, so Ms. Coyle has indicated that her last name was misspelled, so we will revise that. Aside from that revision, if there are no other changes, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 8th, 2020 as amended?
So moved. Tom?
All right, is there a second? And please don't be shy.
I second, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Is there any discussion?
This is Tony. I abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
Yes, sir. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Jane. This is Michelle.
All right,
I
and we
wasn't there
will-
either.
And we will note the abstentions of Mr. Romney and Ms. Colross. All right, thank you. So we have a few more minutes, and I'm going to take some matters out of order just to move things along. We have received requests for certificate of compliance for 47 Washington Street. Actually, that's the first one. And we received a letter from Attorney Donald O'Neill requesting a certificate of compliance for the Whispering Pines Mobile Home Park at 47 Washington Street. He makes reference in his letter to a partial certificate of compliance that was issued back in 2011. Apparently, the original order of conditions was issued by our commission back in 1987, when none of us served on that board. So I think it probably merits taking a look. To be honest, I don't know if we can even pull the file from 1987, but since it appears the commission did issue a partial certificate of compliance back in 2011, when I did serve on the board. Were you on the board back then, Tom?
I was.
Okay. What we can do is we can request to pull the file, and if we can, we will see what work was done in accordance with the original order of conditions, and if needed, we can do a site walk before making a decision on whether or not to issue the order, the certificate of compliance. I have to believe, however, that since the work was done over 30 years ago, that probably it was done in accordance with the order of conditions, and so I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. The second request for certificate of compliance is for 20 Tinker Hill Road. I think that probably does merit a site walk by us. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I already tried looking up the files for 47 Washington, and we don't have anything.
We don't. Well, that makes it rather difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And for the record, that was our assistant, Ms. Buto. So, Ginger, perhaps we can send a letter to Mr. O'Neill asking him to provide us with documentation if he has it.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I think it's going to be difficult. So, okay. And then with respect to 20 Tinker Hill Road, it appears that we issued an order of conditions back in October of 19. If I read the recording stamp in the upper right-hand corner. So this is a project that we have apparently approved within the last year or so. And so I think a site walk. Ginger, were we able to pull the file for 20 Tinker Hill Road? Do you know where it is?
Yes, I have pulled it, yes.
Okay, so I think what we'll probably need is just a copy of the plan. Did they submit an as-built plan to us?
I believe so. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I believe so.
Okay, so if they have done that, perhaps you can make arrangements to get me a copy, and then we can schedule a site walk at some point. Just for the public's knowledge, the commission will next be meeting on November 18th. It is our custom and practice to meet once during the months of November and December, and so our next meeting will be on November 18th. All right, and having been able to successfully fill up the last 5 minutes, the next matter on our agenda is a 7:30 public hearing for the Town of Auburn, Department of Public Works, for a notice of intent to renovate an existing vacant building at 261 Central Street here in Auburn. Is there a motion open?
So moved. Tom?
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of opening the public hearing signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it's a
Aye.
vote. Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. So this project, as you mentioned, is located at 261 Central Street. The Camp Gleason building, which has been vacant for many years. And the town, at town meeting recently, passed an article to expend funds to renovate the structure.
The facilities division. Anyone who's not familiar with the location, this is Eddy Pond, is on either side of Route 20, and this is on the north side of Route 20, the smaller portion of Eddy Pond. And enclosed in the notice of intent was an aerial which had several photos that would somewhat describe the work. That if it would be okay, I would go through these photos and try to explain overall what the project is.
Please do so.
So the first photo on the upper left corner, which is actually very dark and somewhat difficult to see, but it's probably not the most significant one anyhow, is this is on the north side of the building. And there is a portion of the structure that's somewhat dilapidated, and then a wheelchair ramp that comes along the side. We would be reconstructing the wheelchair ramp and removing that portion of the building, which is about 6 to 8 feet in length, I would say. And it's important to note we're not looking to increase the size of the building. It's just certain areas that are structurally in rough shape that we'll be removing. The next photo to the right, this is where probably the most significant work that will occur adjacent to the resource area, which is primarily the bank for Eddy Pond, which in this area is just south of the beach. You can see in this photo, on the far end of the photo is, you can see where the old beach is located. And so you can see there's lolly columns supporting this overhang in this photo, and there's concrete piers, like similar to a sonotube type foundation that they rest on. Those are spalling and beginning to crumble. So what we're proposing is, what we'll be doing is where these footings are, we will be excavating and pouring a foundation down 4 feet to the frost line, and then building the new structure on that new foundation. So these columns and obviously the overhang above that would be removed. We'd have dumpsters on site, and the overhang would be removed in stages as we go, and basically sawzalls and cutting off that part of the structure and just removing it by hand. And once the foundation is in place, we would then frame up and build the area above that section and replace that overhang, obviously with the new structure. The remaining portion of the structure, we feel as though is salvageable, it's in decent shape, and so we would just be renovating the interior on the remaining portion. All the exterior would be re-sided, all new windows, re-roofed. There may be some structural work inside that we'll have to do, but it wouldn't be anything that would affect the outside relative to conservation. The next photo to the right shows a retaining wall and a set of stairs. This is on the south side of the building towards the water side. This particular wall and stairs, we may not address this right away, recognizing the order of conditions would be only good for 3 years. It may be something that we would do in stages and phase this in at a later date, but it is something that we have on the plans, so that if need be, we would replace this wall and the stairs as well. But initially, I think at this phase, we would probably leave them in place. But it is part of the submittal, though, in case we do proceed to replace them in the future. And that's also shown on the bottom left is also a separate picture of that wall and the stairs. Right. Then the 3 photos on the bottom of the plan, all 3 of these, if you look to the left of the photos, you'll see the leaders point to where they are located. So all the water currently comes off of the parking lot. It's all down gradient and discharges in these 3 locations, and it's actually mostly to the bottom right that there's been quite a bit of erosion. So what we want to do is go in with 6-inch minus, so angular type stone, and just stabilize these eroded areas to prevent any further erosion. In addition, the bottom left corner of the building itself, if you're familiar with the site, it's when you first pull in, and it's as if you were going to go into the building. There's 4 dead trees in the parking lot. They're probably 18 to 24 inches in diameter. Clearly, we wouldn't renovate the structure and leave dead trees that close to the building, so we would remove those trees. Those are in the parking lot, and they are very close to the building as well. And I think that describes the work, Mr. Chairman. Also, it is indicating the plan, we'd have erosion control measures adjacent to the resource area, consisting of silt fence and wattles. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So this may be a phased project.
The only portion of it, when I say phase, is just that retaining wall and that set of stairs.
And what's the general condition of the retaining wall and the stairs?
The photo's somewhat deceiving. The stairs are in pretty good shape. There is a gap along the building in that wall, but it seems to be that the wall has been there for probably 70 years and hasn't had significant movement. So, we may just pour up to it when we pour the new foundation and leave that in place, but it's something that as we begin earthwork, if we notice there's any movement of that wall, then we would move forward and replace it. So I wanted to make sure that we had that in the submittal as part of the NOI in the event that we do decide to do it as part of this first phase.
And when would you anticipate beginning work at the site?
Well, this is a project actually we were hoping to begin in the spring until COVID-19 hit, which was obviously delayed many things for everybody. So now we're trying to get back on track with the project. Ideally, we'd like to get the foundation poured before winter and get some of this work done so that we're not working outside in the middle of the winter. I know at this point we're probably up against the clock and fighting the weather, but right now we'll continue in hopes that weather will cooperate, get the foundation in, and go from there.
And what's the anticipated schedule? How long would it take you to do the work?
I think the overall project is going to take the bulk of the spring and summer of next year.
Okay.
I think it's a major project for our division. Initially, we'd have several DPW personnel working, but once we start doing the carpentry work, that's mainly 2 people in the facilities division. As needed, we draw from other divisions from highway. When we're doing the roof, bringing the shingles up, that type of work. But the actual carpentry work inside would be the 2 main carpenters. And so I would expect that this work is going to take spring, summer, and hopefully be completed late summer, early fall.
So aside from the foundation, the remaining will be done in-house?
Yeah, the only work that we are going to be subbing out on the exterior will be the foundation. So we will excavate the trench for the foundation, and then a concrete company, BT&L, would be doing the concrete work for us.
Okay, very good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board?
This is Michelle. I was just wondering what the building was going to be used for in the future, like what the renovations are being done for.
Sure. Great question, Michelle. It's actually anticipated it's going to probably have a couple uses and purposes. The cable access channel is where the funds are actually coming from. I believe it was $200,000 passed at town meeting for this project, so it's not through the tax levy. So the purpose of this is to televise. One of the main things that through recreation that they want to do is actually have cooking classes and other classes, maybe art classes, potentially use the space for office use as well. So I think it'll be sort of dual purposes, more somewhat of a recreational use, and then also for office space as needed for any meetings if we're short on space.
Thank you.
Any other questions from?
Hi, this is Allison. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
I I think everything you're proposing sounds great. This is sort of an aside question, and if you're not the right person to ask, I apologize, but have there been any thoughts to beefing up sort of the vegetation along Route 20 there to protect this wetland a little bit, or add some more filtration, natural wetland filtration to help with the water quality?
Just for
any future plans, like past restoring the building, I guess, has there been talks about what we can do for the wetland there?
along Route 20 specifically, I think is your question?
It seems like it's quite exposed to the road salt and, any other contamination that would result from being so close to the highway.
Right, that would, I can tell you this particular location has had a lot of issues relative to the culvert under Route 20, relative to the water quality on that side of Route 20. And we've contacted the state and we've worked with them to clear the siltation out of that culvert. And we've done that several times over the years. We've had them in where they actually removed over 100 cubic yards of siltation on that side of the culvert. That's something that we'll continue doing with them to make sure that, that we improve the water quality by keeping the water flowing through that culvert. And that's been an issue over the years. In terms of vegetation, I'm not sure, what they could do. It's something that I can pass along to our stormwater engineer, Eilish Corey, to see if she has any thoughts. And, certainly being Route 20, we could pass that along to Mass DOT.
Yeah, I'd just be curious, and I think even just having our presence on this property is going to bring more attention to the wetland there. So I support it. I think it's a great idea.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Any other questions from members of the commission? Are there any questions from members of the public? I'm familiar with the camp, if you want to call it the camp at Gleason Pond. I don't necessarily think that a sidewalk is required, but I will certainly defer to other members of the commission if they think a sidewalk is needed. Tom, what do you think?
I've been there several times with my dog, so I don't need,
Does any member of the commission feel that a sidewalk is needed before we close the public hearing?
I don't know.
Okay, and that was Michelle. Tony, what do you think?
No, I don't believe it's necessary. I think it was a pretty good presentation.
I think so too. Any other comments from the board? In that case, there being none, is there a motion to close the public hearing for 261 Central Street?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing. Tom?
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that. It's Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it's a vote. Thank you, Mr. Coyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, the next matter on tonight's agenda is the 7:45 public hearing, 13 Hill Street LLC, for a notice of intent for an addition to an existing building at 13 Hill Street here in Auburn. Is there a motion to open? right, Michelle?
Michelle?
Or was that Allison?
Or was that Allison? All
That was Michelle.
right, thank you. Is there a second?
This is Tony, and I second.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there any discussion?
I'm going to recuse myself from this public hearing.
Okay, and that was Tom, and Tom is recusing himself. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's a vote. Is there someone here on behalf of 13 Hill Street LLC?
My name is David Sadowski. Can I be heard?
In fact, sir, you may be.
Okay, I
Please
wasn't
proceed.
sure if you were hearing my volume or not. My name is Dave Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates, and I'm here representing the applicant 13 Hill Street.
Okay.
We have an existing site that has an existing laydown yard, I guess, next to it. It was owned by a landscape company previously. The company that is moving in there, Titus General Contractors, is looking to put on an addition 22 feet by 28 feet. We were in front of the planning board already for site review, and the plan that we presented was approved. We had Ecotech go out and flag the wetlands.
Sadowski?
I'm sorry.
I apologize for interrupting. When did the planning board approve your plan?
There was a hearing maybe 6-7 days ago.
Okay. All right. Please go ahead.
So I imagine it's still under the appeal period, if there is an appeal, 20 days or whatever it is, sir.
Okay.
Anyways, if you look at the town maps for wetlands, this area doesn't even show up as a wetland resource on your maps. But it was determined that there was a wetland to the north side of the property, which is mostly off property, is where the wetlands would be impacted the most by this type of a project. Currently, the proposed addition is 76 feet from the lot line. The closest wet flag is 74 feet from the area of the addition. The addition would have a footings with a basement that would offer a vehicle to be able to pull inside, and then it will have an office space up above it. This isn't a active office building. It's basically a place for 3 or 4 of the people that belong to Titus. Most of their work they sub out, so there's very little traffic that comes and goes. But we did talk about traffic. There's already existing pavement in the front of the building off of Hill Street. So this area down the back is an area to be able to pull a vehicle in at night and store some materials. And to square up the building to allow some more office space up top. I'd be open to any questions from the board. We show a ring of straw water with silt fence, and we show a limit of work on the plan.
Mr. Sadowski, we'd like to take site walks, and I wonder if that's something that we could arrange with you to do.
Sure, I've already taken a site walk with you people before when we went to a lot on Tinker Hill, 90 Tinker. That was, I think, before COVID.
It may be the early phases of COVID, but in any event, this is certainly a different property. If we were to make arrangements to take a site walk, we would need to continue the public hearing for this to our next meeting, which is November 18th. Is that something that you can agree to on behalf of the applicant?
If the board would feel more comfortable taking a site walk, of course we'd agree with the board. We're not here to hide anything whatsoever.
And sir, I am certainly not implying that you are. It's just that this is this is our standard operating procedure. So I appreciate that. If
I could add, Mr. Chairman and board members, before the result of these wetlands along the north boundary are there's a series of underground pipes that come from the parking area of Ronnie's Seafood and that whole strip mall that's in that area off of 20. All the drainage flows over and unfortunately dumps out next to this lot. That's the reason for the wetland in that area.
Understood. Okay. So I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to the members about when a site walk can be done. I'm not certain that it can be done this weekend, but since we're not meeting until November 18th, I think there's ample time for us to make arrangements to go and visit the site. And sir, you know, you don't have to be present. I mean, I think as you indicated and as the plan shows, the wetlands are clearly delineated. So, since you're really proposing buffer zone work anyway, or the jurisdiction was triggered because of you know, the presence of wetlands within 100 feet, triggering our jurisdiction, I think we could go ahead and view the site without your participation if you're not available. But we will certainly give you the opportunity to join us if you know, if we can arrange that.
I enjoy sidewalks myself.
Okay. Well, it's starting to get a little bit colder, so maybe you won't enjoy it as much. But in any event,
Sir, I've been serving. I've been serving since '79 when I broke in with Perini at the nuclear plant. I've been outside a long time.
All right. Excellent. In that case, is there a motion to continue the public hearing to November 18th by any member of the board?
I move to continue this hearing until November 18th at what, 7? I don't know if we have a time yet, right?
Ginger, if you could just come on for a second. Do we have anything on the agenda for November 18th?
As it stands right now, we do not, so we can make this the first one for the night.
Okay, so in that case, there's a motion from Michelle to continue the public hearing for 13 Hill Street LLC to November 18th at 7 p.m. Is there a second?
This is Tony and I second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's a vote. So, Mr. Sadowski, we will be in touch regarding a date and time to conduct a site walk at Hill Street.
Excellent. Sir, do you need me to sign any paperwork to allow this extension, or is a verbal parole evidence fine for you?
For purposes of COVID, I think parole evidence will be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, have a good evening.
Nice
Thank you.
evening, and thank you for your work with the town, all of you.
Appreciate that. Okay. We have a couple minutes before our next public hearing at 8 o'clock. Under other business is 6 Commonwealth Avenue. Members of the board had actually planned to make a site walk of the property before tonight's meeting, but we were advised by Mr. Scott Jordan, I believe it was, that the owners of the property had actually come down with the virus. And so for that reason, out of an abundance of caution, it was decided not to make a site walk given that situation. We will make arrangements to walk the site before our meeting on November 18th. We have about 3 minutes until our next public hearing. Okay, it being 8 p.m., the next item on our agenda is an application by S&K Development LLC for a notice of intent to construct a single-family home with a driveway at 8 Commonwealth Avenue. Is there a motion open?
So moved, Tom.
Is there a second?
I second, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's a vote. Mr. Kravosky, are you on, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening.
Sure.
So why don't you tell us about the proposed work at 8 Commonwealth Avenue?
Thank you very much, sir. The proposed work is a single-family house, closest point being 76 feet from wetland flag 4A. That would be the house structure itself. The deck, 64 feet from that same flag. Closest point of work, 26 feet to the erosion controls from wetland flag 4A, which happens to be, again, the closest flag for the proposed work again. This was a former borrow pit, as evident by the, well, one, the type of soil was a hydrologic soil group A, gravel, bank gravel. It's a typical area where you would find a borrow pit area. Although the glacier did leave steep slopes, the slopes that we're seeing now that are stabilized, this was a gravel pit quite a few years ago. I don't have the date on it, but it's stabilized hillside. And this bowl where the house is going, where it actually says Lot 2 on it, if you're seeing it, that's kind of the lowest point. Then it rises back up to a berm that was partially left in place, partial historic part of the berm that's facing the wetland is natural. That would be upgrading the wetland flags 5A and 6A, 7A such. It is adjacent to that existing house number. The house is positioned to our west. We have an existing house structure. This is being cut off of that property. And that's the problem. We have erosion controls to protect the wetland, but this type of soil, you don't see a lot of overland movement because it's basically 2-minute perk rate soil, highly permeable. It will be tied into, as you can, from the plan, it's going to be tied into city sewer, city water. It shows on the front, as we're facing the building, those would be on the left-hand side or the western side of the house structure. That's the project. Single-family house in the buffers, not encroaching into the well. And lastly, respecting your 25-foot no disturbance.
Excuse me. So, Mr. Grabowski, as you know, we like to take site walks, and I think this, as it turns out, this project is adjacent to another property that we need to look at. I don't believe we're available this Saturday, but I think we would be able to go on a site walk the following Saturday, which is November 7th. Is that something? Would you be available to join us on that date?
Definitely, sir.
All right. So shall we say 9 a.m. then on Saturday, November 7th?
Yes, sir. 9 a.m. Mike, if I could add after you're completed, after you have something to say.
And do we have your?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Karowski,
thank you.
You're kind of fading in and out a little bit, but what I was going to ask you is, yes, thank you. So we have your permission to continue the public hearing for 8 Commonwealth Avenue to November 18th. Shall we say 7:15?
7:15, sir. Could I make one statement?
Sure, please.
Thank you, sir. My client, as he expressed today, he was hoping he's losing time to pour the concrete foundation as it gets colder. And that's the one thing he expressed. So I appreciate that we're having a meeting on November 17th, I believe. I have the November 7th, 9 a.m. One more time.
Our next meeting would be on November 18th at 7:15 p.m.
November 18th, thank you. And hopefully we can, I know your new clerk is there, Ginger, I believe. If possible, we'll just request it anyways and see how much we can get out of it, that we hopefully can, if it is all proper, that we close the hearing and maybe receive an order. I know you have 21 days. We're only asking again, only to hopefully get in the ground, at least with the foundation prior to frost. That's all.
Well, sir, I will tell you that because we only meet once in November and once in December, it is likely that if we have any orders to issue, after we close on, or we have our meeting on November 18th, they will be issued that evening. So I think I can say to you with some degree of assurance that we will be able to close the public hearing and also issue an order that evening.
Sir, I appreciate your time on that, and thank you for that clarity. My client, who I believe is online. Thank you.
Okay, so, and we will plan to see you on November 7th at 9 a.m.
Yes, sir.
And is there a motion to continue the public hearing for 8 Commonwealth Avenue to November 18th at 7:15 p.m.?
So moved, Tom.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
vote. All right, Ms. Grabowski, we'll see you on November 7th at 9 a.m. And thank you for your participation this evening.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it again.
All right, we have a few minutes. There is one, before we take out the public hearing at 8:15, there's another matter on our agenda. Back on actually the beginning of October, there was a complaint that was made regarding, I guess, the failure of erosion control measures at 476 Leicester Street. This is the site of a solar farm that I believe is under construction. And if we have the opportunity, we should go out there to see if they have in fact restored them. It's my understanding that they were going to do that. So I think basically at this point, it's just a question of seeing if the erosion control protection was increased and if the bridge area was being cleaned following the rains, I guess, at the end of September. And so that's something we can certainly do before our next meeting.
My name is Joe Morrissey. I just want to let you know I'm on the phone.
Yes, good, Mr. Morrissey. You have another 5 minutes, or I guess we were a little more efficient than we thought we would be. So if you could just hang on, we'll get to you in about 5 minutes.
I just want to let you know I'm here.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I have 8:15. The next item on our agenda is an application by Joseph Morrissey, a request for determination of applicability to cut down a large diseased pine tree in the rear of his yard at 207 Leicester Street. Is there a motion open?
So moved, Tom.
Is there a second?
It's Michelle, I'll second it.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's a vote. Good evening, Mr. Morrissey. Thank you for your patience in waiting for us to call your matter to order. So as I understand it, sir, you have a large dead pine tree near the water at the back of your property, and you want to cut it down.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. So I'm actually looking at the estimate that you provided to us, and it looks like you got 2 dead trees. Looks like there's
Correct.
a pine near the water, and there's an oak tree, probably beyond our jurisdiction, also at your property. Is that right?
That's correct. That's what started this whole thing. The oak never came to life this spring, and it took me some time to get a tree people over here and get an estimate going. And we surveyed the property, and I asked the tree company about what was going on in the back, and she pointed out that the damn thing is diseased. Of course, I knew something was going on with it because every time the wind would blow in the wintertime, I'd keep losing branches on the thing. And I realized it's actually taller and closer to the house than the other one. I got to get that thing taken down. It's loaded with bugs. So,
about how tall is it?
I'm not a good estimate, but it's taller than the house. And the tree in the front yard is taller than the house, and the tree in the backyard is taller than the house. So it's more than 2 stories high. So that's why I'm having a professional tree service come in and have this taken care of.
Okay. And basically, sir, you want to get this work done as quickly as possible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What is your understanding of what they're going to do with the trees? Have they discussed the method they're going to use to take them down?
Yeah, well, they're gonna cut them down. From what I assume, they're gonna put a tree like a grinding thing in the front yard, and then grind up the trees and take the trees away, branches and all, and stuff like that. I've seen people do the tree work. I've never spent too much time staring at it, but yeah, they usually what happens is they start at the top and they limb it down, and then they get to the trunk and they take that down, and then they get it into the machine and grind the thing up. So all the material will be gone by the time this whole job is done. Now, they did mention there will be yard damage, and I understand that, and I'm quite capable of helping them do that. It will be seeded and cleaned, and of course, it appears to be this work will happen first week of December. So the benefit of that also is that the ground should be somewhat frozen, so there should be less damage to the yard. Regardless, I'm going to be out there keeping an eye on it through springtime and make sure the grass takes back hold again.
And as I read the estimate, it appears you're gonna leave the stump in place for the pine tree, but grind the stump for the oak. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. I don't see any reason I have to grind the thing in the back. Just let it do its thing. Let nature take care of itself.
Okay. And your understanding is that when they chip the tree, that all the chipping will take place towards Leicester Street and not towards the rear of the property. Is that right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No chipping will be done near the water. Correct. That's the question you're asking. Yeah.
That is the question. All right, I have no other questions. Are there any questions from members of the commission?
This is Allison. I don't have a question, but I'm looking at Google Maps, the street view of your property, and it's pretty clear what he's proposing if anyone wants to look at it as well. I don't know if we can skip a site walk by looking at it this way, but I don't know. I'm happy to share my screen if that's helpful.
Sure.
I don't think I'm
Gil's
allowed
gonna-
to at the moment. Yeah, thanks.
Up. I believe our Caleb is going to assist us here.
Thank you.
You really need to show me how to do that. All right. Thank you, Allison.
Very pretty picture, I might add.
It is. So, Mr. Morris, I don't know if you're looking on a desktop or a laptop, but do you see there's an image that Ms. Holmes has called up on Google Maps that shows your property. Do you see that?
I do not have Google Maps. I don't have access to a computer or anything like that, but I've seen that picture in the past, if it's the same one. Someone had showed that to me some years ago. Yeah, it shows the house,
Yeah,
and it shows the tree in the front, and that's the one that's coming down, and then you look behind it, you can see the big pine in the back, and it's taller than the house.
You absolutely can, sir. And I think that's actually a very good representation, I think, of your property. So thank you, Allison. I think, as you noted, you know, the expression is that picture is worth 1,000 words. And I think in this case, it certainly shows us what we needed to see. So, all right, Mr. Morrissey, I have no other questions. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Morrissey? Is there any member of the public that has any questions for the applicant? There being none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing. Tom?
Is there a second?
I'll second that. It's Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. All right, it's a vote. Mr. Morrissey, we close the public hearing. We will be rendering a decision, I think, this evening, and you will be hearing from us. So thank you, sir, and thank you for your patience. I know you tried to get on or to get our attention at the last meeting, and we weren't able to handle it, but we're glad that we're able to take it this evening.
Well, and I do want to point out that Ginger Betro has been very helpful. And I just appreciate everyone's assistance in that. I'm a homeowner who doesn't understand a lot of this stuff. And she has helped me walk through a lot of the forms, and I want to tip my hat off to her, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And thank you to Ginger, too. Okay,
You're very
Mr.
welcome.
Morrissey. We're
Okay.
all set, sir. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Okay, so that concludes our public hearings. We have some orders to issue. But when we take the easy ones first, with respect to the request for determination of applicability to conduct the routine maintenance at 35 Mill Street, is there a motion?
I make a motion we issue a negative determination. Tom?
All right, is there a second?
This is Tony, and I second.
Okay, is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, it's a vote, and it's unanimous. So negative determination will be issued for 35 Mill Street. For Mr. Morrissey, the request for determination of applicability for 207 Leicester Street, is there a motion?
I make a motion we issue a negative determination. Tom?
Is there a second?
This is Allison. I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote, it's unanimous. Negative determination for 207 Leicester Street. With respect to Eastland Partners, the commercial site at 190 Washington Street in Auburn. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. First of all, I want to make a motion that we issue the waiver for the 25-foot no-build zone.
Okay.
We have to do that as part of the procedure.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And then I make, as part of this motion, that we issue a standard order plus the following, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 11, and 13,
Okay, and also 14.
and 14.
Okay, so there's a motion to issue an order of conditions plus the following special conditions: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 11, 13, and 14. Is there a second?
I'll second that. It's Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. And then for 261 Central Street in Auburn, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we issue the waiver for the 25-foot no-build zone. This is going to be work right next to the water there.
Okay.
And along with that, a standard order plus the following numbers: 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, and 14.
Okay. So the motion is a standard order plus the following special conditions: 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 11. Did you say 11?
Yeah. No, I didn't say 11.
Okay.
I did say 7 for riprap.
Okay.
No riprap.
You're right. 7, 9, 12, 13, and 14. Is there a second?
This is Allison. I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote, it's unanimous, and we will issue that order of conditions. And then, is there any other business?
Chairman, do you want to discuss the letter from Denise Child from DEP regarding the
So I think that's actually a good idea. So as members of the commission will remember, well, maybe they don't remember, we have had ongoing issues with the property owner at 498 Rochdale Street. In fact, that was subject to action that we took after our last meeting on October 14th. Apparently, a complaint was made with Denise Childs, who's the wetland section chief at DEP, regarding 480 Rochdale Street. 480 Rochdale Street is the property adjacent to 498 Rochdale. We made a site visit, several of us made a site visit to 480 Rochdale Street. We inspected the property and we found that the complaint, for the record, the complainant was anonymous. We found that there had been a plan was actually submitted. I don't know if that went to Caleb or not. It might have. There was clearing done to construct basically a barn for pool equipment, but there was also on the plan that was submitted was also reference to a wetland area that was more than 100 feet away from the construction area. The homeowner at 480 Rochdale had obtained a building permit. I went and we surveyed the property. There are no wetlands within 30 feet of the area that was being constructed, or within 100 feet of the area that was being constructed. And so we found that the complaint that was made was without merit, and I'll leave it at that. So if there's no other business, we will be having site walks on November 7th, beginning at 9 a.m. I believe we will get in touch with Mr. Sadowski for one of the properties. I think 13 Hill Street, correct. We will go out to 8 Commonwealth Avenue. We will also more likely than not check out 6 Commonwealth Avenue. And if there is no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Would we also check out, would we also check out that solar erosion control site?
We will. We can go to 476 Leicester Street at that time as well.
Okay. Good.
And you know, if other matters come to our attention between now and November 7th, we can also see those too. So there's a motion to adjourn by Tom. Is there a second?
This is Tony, and I second.
All right, Tony, thank you, sir. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous, not a surprise. All right, everyone, have a pleasant evening. Thank you for your participation, and we will see you, see some of you, hopefully most of you, on November 7th, and our next meeting will be on November 18th. Thank you. Good night.